What's good, YouTube and Twitch? I am joined by none other than
Cimoooooooo!
And so, there's an interesting concept of conversation where it's F1, marry one, kill one. Well, today we're doing that with the ban list. I thought this was an interesting way to approach the discussion, because, it can get kind of stale hearing ban list discussions over and over. So this is limit one, ban one, and unlimit one basically to 3. So
Okay.
we're killing one, we're bringing one back, and we're putting one at full power. So
Okay.
what are some cards that you've kind of thought about that you would really like to see just gone from the game right now? And we're gonna have to narrow it down to one.
Okay, well, let's think. Well, the only one off the top of my head that I can think of is Independent Nightingale, just because it finishes off Pendulum FTK, which I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, Pendulum FTK is not even really doing anything. I don't care. I want it gone. Like, in that same light, you could argue, like, Utopic Zexal, because it's, like, it's not an FTK, but it's, like, if they summon Zexal, you basically lose. So it's, like...
Yeah,
kind of like
they're trying to not let you play the game.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, like, if you don't have Forbidden Chalice, you just fucking lost. So it's, like, I don't understand. I guess Infinite Transience will change that. I mean, who knows? But, I don't know. And then, like, I guess, like, if you're going by that logic, too, like, I guess you should have to hit some Gem Knight FTK card as well, even though, I don't know, like... Gem Knight FTK, it's like, if you want to play that deck, like, I feel like it's not in, like, the same league as, like, Pen Magician, so it's, like, a completely different argument altogether. But, I don't know. Let me pull up the, those are, like, the only ones I can think of, like, right off the top of my head. There's, like, we're in, like, a really good format right now.
Yeah, it's really diverse. I think you could... a lot of people are saying if we don't ban Astrograph, that the Pendulum Magicians will still be the top deck, but I definitely think it can mess with their consistency. But I also agree that if you don't take care of the Link Monster, Astrograph's still very, very powerful.
Yeah, because you can't limit it, because if you do, they can still cycle one Astrograph, and granted, it makes it more difficult to do the combos. It's still, like, just as bad. So, like, it's kind of like Max C, where it's like, it needs to either be at 3 or 0, because if it's at 1 or 2, it doesn't affect anything.
Well, the other thing you could realistically hit, but it's just so soon, is Electromite. We haven't really seen a secret rare hit that soon that was released, but Electromite, like, the reason it loops through them is you continue to make Electromites, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point, and I mean... But, like, again, so the interesting thing is, like, the counter-argument there is that Astrograph is still at 3 in the OCG, and so is Electromite, and Pendulum Magician isn't even the best deck right now, so...
Yeah, so you think the game's gonna naturally try to power creep the deck?
Yeah, because, like, Sentoki or Brandish or Sky Strike or whatever you want to call it is, like, currently the strongest deck, and people are still playing Pen Magician. Like, I think it's the second best deck. And what I like about Electromite is it actually facilitates deck like Zephyra to actually have a chance. So, I don't know, like, I feel like the way the game is supposedly going to be shifting, I don't think it's actually going to be an issue. Pendulum Magician's obviously still going to be one of the best decks, but I don't think it's going to be this, like, massive, like, overwhelming... It's not going to be, like, Spiral or anything like that, It's just going to be, a good deck that has a good amount of representation. But it really just depends on how badly we just want to just see it out of the format or not.
I definitely agree that a second card doesn't need to die for Nightingale's sins. Like, we don't need now Supreme King Dragon Starving Venom to be the one that hits. I do think that they should go after Nightingale if they go after a card. But for me personally... I would have to say, if I was banning, I'm actually agreeing with you straight up. Nightingale is the most degenerate in the format currently, and the most consistent deck in a sense.
Right, like, I'm sorry to the 6 Lyrilisk players out there, but, like, it's, like, Starving Venom is actually a really cool card because it can do so many different things. Obviously, people are using it for a degenerate combo or just copying Electromite, but, like, I've seen people, like, copy Judgment Dragon's effect and nuke the board. Like, that's so cool that a card can do that.
It's kind of like Phantom of Chaos in a sense,
Right, exactly. So, like, hit the problem card and not a card that actually does something really cool in a deck that actually works, So I'm looking at the, like, ban list right now, and I'm seeing if there's anything else that's, like, limited that I feel that should be banned. And, like, frankly, like, I don't think anything else really warrants getting banned at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like Masterpiece, if anything, is more headed towards limited, if it even gets touched. I feel like Diagram's the true problem of that deck. But
Yeah.
a lot of people will disagree. Masterpiece, the fun slaying king, I think as Nadir once put it.
Yeah.
I feel like consistency is key. So we both agree, Lear Lusk. I don't know about Zexal for me. I could see the hate towards Zexal. It's a card that doesn't let you play. It's how he was engineered, though, and it does require you to play a few different things that can junk up your deck a little.
Yeah, and it's like, so that's one thing to keep in mind as well, because Masterpiece and Diagram are actually banned in the OCG, and so I'd be curious to know how that would actually be affecting their current format if those cards weren't hit, because that would actually change up a lot, because, I mean, Draco could basically, obviously, like, their format's different, but, I mean, being able to play Draco at full power and, like, make a Masterpiece basically immune to, like, the spell-heavy Sentoki deck, like, that actually could be a really big deal. So, I don't know. I mean, the debate's there because I like Diagram as a card for so many other decks, whereas Masterpiece is kind of just like, you know, just degenerate where it's just like, oh, it hits the board, and it's like if you don't have the out, you lose, you know?
All right, let's skip forward to Unlimit 1.
Okay. So what would you want to... You start us off.
I think Book of Moon is a card that, with Master Rule 4, has no business being at 1, period. Like, this can come back all the way.
Okay. We're talking about a card going straight to 3. Correct?
Yeah, going anywhere on the ban list. It can be forbidden right now. It can be limited,
okay.
semi-limited. What card would you pick going to 3?
Yeah, I mean, Book of Moon... Yeah, I don't know why that card's still at 1. I'm pretty sure Japan has it at 3.
Yeah, Book of Eclipse is a thing that's actually more powerful in the current day and age and sees more use. We have Bottomless at 3 now. Like, why did Book get left behind?
Yeah, Torrential's at 3, John. Just keep that in mind. Torrential made it to 3 before Book of Moon.
If somebody told me like a couple lists ago, like, yo, Torrential's going to 3, I'd be like, that seems really good.
Yeah, I'd be like, no.
BA is still a strong deck. Another card, let's see here, that we're going through is Grand Mole. A lot of people have begged for Grand Mole.
Yeah, so Grand Mole's one of my favorite cards, actually. So I completely advocate for this because, like, Grand Mole is just so outdated right now. Like, the only argument you could have for Grand Mole is you could, like, pendulum summon 3 of them out, but, like, I don't know.
You can, what's that one card? It's Inferno Reckless summon it, right?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. I got the real combos, boys. We're gonna summon 3 of these out and bounce 3 cards, and I'm gonna have to bring back my Grand Moles one at a time.
Like, okay, here's the argument I've made for that. Eater of Millions is basically a better Grand Mole in almost every way, shape, and form. You can special summon it. It banishes the card instead of bouncing it back to their hand. It can have higher attack. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Eater of Millions is just power-crept Grand Mole in a lot of ways. And that card's at 3. So...
I don't know. They're releasing new Neo-Spatian support soon.
Oh, excuse me.
Apparently is a TCG exclusive. I don't know.
I mean, you know, whatever they want to do,
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. It's been a long day, boys. I don't know if the last thing that I said was limit 1 or bring 1 back. So we're gonna do both. I think it was limit 1.
No, you said we're bringing 1 back to 3.
Okay, bringing 1. No, yeah, that was the unlimit. But the last one was either unban 1 to 1 or limit 1 to 1. I think it was limit to 1.
Oh, okay. So we're limiting 1 to 1 now?
Yeah, well, is the Grand Mole your pick? Somebody said Royal, not Royal Oppression, the Gravekeeper card. What's that spell? Royal Tribute.
Oh, Royal Tribute?
I think that one's fine where it is for me.
Yeah.
I lived through those days, and I know...
I was gonna say, I have too.
Yeah, you know, I think there's a lot of people who, like, play Gravekeepers when they come back over and over. Whenever they want to see how the game's doing because they've quit for a while, I run into them all the time on Dueling Book. They're just playing Gravekeepers, and they're always the nicest dudes. So maybe I would like to give them something, but not that card. Give them something new.
Give me 3 Pantheism. I'm gonna be that guy.
Ooh, you going like, OCG.
Like, okay, Aether's still at 1 in our format. Like, whatever. Like, 3 Pantheism. Like, no one's gonna play Monarchs with 1 Aether and 1 Stormforth. Like, it's not gonna happen. So that's gonna be my pick. I feel like that would just be fine.
Fair, fair. All right, limiting 1, and then we'll do bonus round, bonus meme.
Okay.
We're PewDiePie now.
Okay, so limiting a card that's at 3 to 1.
Yeah,
or...
my go-to is Diagram here, and
okay.
also perhaps I know people are gonna hate me for saying this one. I think it's Terraforming's time. Diagram
really?
or Terraforming.
Okay, what's your logic behind
so
that?
so okay, field spells keep getting more powerful, and more powerful.
Okay.
Like over time, but that's natural, right? That's supposed to happen with the game. But the thing here is they give Upstart is from 3 down to 1. Rhoda is from 3 down to 1. And Rhoda's specific towards warriors. You're telling me that Konami considers keeping that card on the list over something like Terraforming that gets you any field spell for any deck versus a specific type of card that really it wouldn't do as much. Like, I feel like Terraforming in the game gives so much access and power to so many decks and gives that extra boost of consistency, but it also thins the deck along the way, allowing them, in a sense, to play less cards when Upstart is instantly dead for that same thing.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, we don't want to give those Satellar Knight players their 3 Rhodas, God forbid. But,
so, also they've made the replacements already is why I'm being more harsh on it. I think Metaverse is kind of cool because it promotes you playing other quote-unquote bricks, but also cool things in your deck, like maybe Necro Valley, because you can pop it onto the field at any time. So, like, they've given and taken with that card, but they've already created its replacement, too.
Yeah, I kind of see your point. Like, it's become one of the best generic search cards, like, kind of in this game. And it's not once per turn. And because, I think I remember talking about this in a video, like, field spells, the power of field spells has gotten to, like, such an absurd level in this game, especially over time, that, I mean, the argument's definitely there. I don't know. I just kind of like just Terraforming in general.
I like the card. I don't hate the card. I just think if they have the logic to, like, you can't play Upstart, it thins your deck. You can't play Rhoda for a specific type of monsters that aren't really doing much in the game. Yet Terraforming gives access to every deck, and maybe they kind of need that consistency. Like, think of like what happens with Draco if you hit it. Like, they have to now use their like. They can't get it multiple times the way they are. Think of the consistency hit to it. They have to card a demise into it. They have to duality into it and make tougher decisions because getting to Diagram is suddenly so much harder. What would, like, even if you kept Diagram at 3, how much more do they struggle against the current decks? Definitely a little bit.
Yeah. I think for my pick, I'd probably go with Scapegoat, honestly. I fucking hate that card at 3 right now.
Yeah, it is so much more powerful than it should be.
Yeah, that card is like... Scapegoat, you will lose games to that you shouldn't because, like, there's no way to stop it. Like, because, like, it's chainable. So, like, if they go first and they set a Scapegoat, that is one of the hardest boards to play around because not only can you not kill them unless you're playing something like, I don't know, Purgatrio or Chaos Max and can read that they're going to have Scapegoat. But, like, they have the Scapegoat, and then it's like, unless you make a spell negator without them realizing that's what you're going to make before they flip the Scapegoat, you now have to deal with the potential of them accessing their entire extra deck Link toolbox to be able to, like, go into Ningirsu, to go into Borolo, to go into Saryuja, and just get so far ahead on the board. And obviously, Scapegoat wasn't designed with Link monsters in mind because this was done 15 years later. But I feel like Scapegoat is a card that it should not be at 3 anymore just solely because of Link monsters.
It helps the access. Like Saryuja here, Billy described it best. Saryuja, when he read it, he said, this is a freaking Pokemon card. Like, that's how busted it is. Like, if you guys don't know Pokemon, they're like, drawn 7 over there. They're doing crazy things. He read this, and he's like, this does so much that it's a Pokemon card. Like,
right. And so the fact that Scapegoat is literally a 1 card that is, like, insane. I mean, well, it's technically like 2, but I mean, you get what I'm saying. Like, it's pretty much like
it'll progress over time to being even more powerful as the Link mechanic continues.
Right,
like Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, they're only going to release more broken Link monsters. Like, that's how this game works. So the more busted and more generic the Link monsters become, the stronger of a card Scapegoat becomes. And even at 1, it's still an incredibly powerful card, but it's way better than at 3, where they're going to have such a high percentage of opening it that, I mean, I don't know.
Okay, this one isn't out of love, but I forgot it on our last topic. Tribe infecting virus can easily come back to 3 at this point, like, and
Isn't
it's
it
still
already at 3?
it's forbidden for us still.
Is it still? Oh my god.
It's 3 in the OCG. You're mixing
Yeah,
the
okay,
lists.
I'm so used to OCG. Yeah, okay, yeah. Tribe could have come back like 4 years ago. No one would
Yeah.
care.
So moving on to the unbanned things. Tribe's not personal for me. I just remembered the last topic that could have gone straight to 3. Unbanned one. I know tons of you are going to yell construct, and I think it can come back for now. The thing that they had a problem with construct, I feel at Konami, is that you limit like what light monsters you can make in the game for certain archetypes in the futures, because Shadow's splashed so well at the time before Master Rule 4. Like, you could throw it into anything that played lights and like put 1 or 2. Like, you could just add like a singular Shadow dragon to be able to pop back row, and like 1 other card for consistency's sake, like Squamata or something. And with any deck that played good lights, you could just toss this in kind of as a an option. People would splash in like the Shadow stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it can come back now, but it's not my personal pick.
I'm a huge advocate for Construct. I mean, I loved playing Shaddolls, and like Construct basically is what makes Shaddolls. But you know, there's a lot of pretty good candidates on here. I think if I had to like narrow it down to 1, I'm going to be that guy. I mean, Daigusto Emerald. I think that was collateral damage with
Link summoning.
Yeah,
Or Infernity.
I think it was. Like, I know there's like the FTKs that it can kind of help enable, but I think that was more so like
Firewall's fault, right?
It's more so Firewall's fault, but also because of like its prominence in Zoo format. Like, Konami has this like tendency to hit cards like way later than they should have. And I feel like Daigusto Emerald was kind of like from the aftermath of Zoo format, in addition to like the Firewalls, like FTKs with Infernity and stuff. I don't know. Like, Daigusto Emerald is such a cool card. It just really just helps round out the rank 4 toolbox, and it just does 2 really nice things, like the recyclability and the recursion. I don't know. Like, I've always liked that card, so I feel like that should have never really gotten hit in the first place. There's other ways they could have put that FTK in check.
I feel like this card is too slow by this day and age. Return from the different dimension, like it, unlike Scapegoat.
Ooh, you're playing with fire, John.
Yeah, I know I am. I know people feel a certain type of way about this, but this requires setup. In a day and age where setup is hard, it takes half your life points. Solemn is a card. Red Reboot is coming out. You have so much against this card now these days, and you have to pay half your life points, and you have to have it not get destroyed, targeted, have anything happen to it during your turn. I feel like in this day and age that it's okay.
You know, one more that I glanced over. Time Seal could go back to 1.
Ooh.
Time Seal is an extremely outdated card because the game is accelerated to a pace that it's so fast. And I was talking to my friends about this. Like, okay, if Time Seal goes to 1, are you gonna make? Okay, so like, look at like Solemn Judgment coming back. Solemn Judgment warrants a spot in main and side decks because it literally is a 1-card answer to anything in the game for the most part.
It's
right?
at 2 in the OCG now.
And it's
right?
at 2 in the OCG, right? Are you gonna make a slot available to play Time Seal? I don't think you are. Like, that card is just not nearly as good as it once used to be when you could recur it with Mask of Darkness and do all these crazy shenanigans. I know we have a bunch of other cards and people might be able to come up with other stupid combos with it, but I realistically don't think, especially at a competitive level, that people are going to allocate spaces in their deck for Time Seal, because just in a vacuum, comparing that to Solemn Judgment is like almost laughable.
Here's another pick of mine. Pot of Avarice, I think, is at multiple in the OCG now.
It's at 3 in the OCG. They just went to 3. Which
okay.
I never... hearing a Pot of Avarice at 3, like, gives me anxiety.
I understand why, because you could just link summon, and put it all back, especially with cards like Scapegoat currently.
Well,
like
you and I played when that card was at 3.
Yeah,
like,
for a while it wasn't even played on its release.
Right. Exactly. So, like, we just know the power of that card, and that's just, like, the fact that it's at 3, and again, no one's even playing it, but, I mean, it's like such a scary thought that card could go to 3, because oh man, like the pluses.
The spirit of 420, some pot of avarice. So like my going back to Return though, my argument against it is like the only deck I can currently think that would truly abuse this is decks with snow, mill decks that are already trap phobic. They already are trying not to play traps back row. They're trying to have basically their defense be stuff like snow when their body's on board. So like,
right.
I just don't see what Return goes into where it doesn't get answered while it's set or get forced, and like how much of an advantage it can actually provide. I think it is slow in today's day and age. Like, you have Psalm in this game, like, versus Return. Like, how much will Return actually help you turbo? Dimension Fusion's a completely different thing. That's instant reward.
Yeah. That's a spell.
Yeah.
That's that doesn't require a turn.
Exciton's a good one, chat. Exciton's a great one. That's one that we all kind of, like, saw it get reprinted in Battles of Legend. It's got clarification. What's happening with it. And I feel like, you know, we have kaijus in today's game and age. We have field wipes, multiple. Like, what keeps Exciton on the list?
So, okay, I'm going to make an argument here for against Exciton, because I actually hate this card.
Oh.
Okay, I hate Exciton because it literally rewards you for losing the game. That's what kind of card... It's a card that you put in your extra deck that says, if I'm losing, I have a reset button. And I think that is just absolutely fucking stupid.
I can see your point there.
Like, it's different than a card like Amano Iwado, because Iwado shuts down the board, but you still have to crack it. Exciton, literally, if they don't have the answer, you destroy everything. And then you can just do whatever setup you want. So it's not even like I mean, I guess you could compare it more so to like evenly matched, but evenly matched, you have to relinquish your battle phase. You have to draw it. It's not already available in your extra deck, and you can't have any cards if you want to use it on that turn. So it's way different than evenly matched, because evenly matched has a bunch of heavy stipulations, whereas Exciton is so much more easily accessible, even though you do need the rank 4 toolbox, obviously. I don't know. I just really do not like that card essentially rewards you for, like, losing.
I can see that mentality. That's a competitor's mentality, chat.
It is.
Definitely. So, like, you touched on the rock also. Amado, it should not die for Draco's sins. This card gets argued like, what if you put it in the GOAT format? That's how quote-unquote balanced it is. Basically, the Draco's breaking the game of tribute summoning. They literally break the mechanic of tribute summoning over and over and over. That is what makes Amano good.
Right.
So it takes go ahead.
The thing is, Amano is essentially good in this well, I mean, actually that's not true. I was gonna make the argument that if Pen Magician wasn't as relevant, then Amano wouldn't be as good, but that's not true, because you're basically hand trap proof. So I think people would play it regardless. But I think it's more so the argument that people just don't like that they set up this whole turn 1 board and then one card shuts it down, which is like kind of hilarious, because it's like, oh, so you're okay with setting up an unbreakable board, quote unquote, but then I play this card that shuts down your unbreakable board and you're mad at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Dad to 3 is a cute one here.
That's,
JD's fine at 3. Dad to 3. There's not really too much you can do to abuse Dark Arms, even with the Dark Structure deck or anything out. It's a powerful card. It's targeting destruction, though. And by today's standards, it's still relatively easily summonable, I feel, though.
I still have PTSD from Dad, so...
Yeah.
Dad's literally the reason I quit Yu-Gi-Oh! The first time.
Ooh, we touched the nerve. Oh, someone else said Cyberstein, which we have Valor, we have all sorts of goodies for it.
Yeah, Stein, I think Stein could go to 1. I actually think that... Well, it's weird, because, like, there's shit like Naturia Exterio and stuff that, like, people argue is, like, really, like, not healthy, but... I don't know. I feel like there's so much disruption that, like, and they pay such a heavy life point cost that, like, Stein is kind of okay.
All right, the final card, the hot button here for the final one.
I don't know. Dad was, like, pretty much the hot button, but we'll see.
Maxi.
No.
You want to keep it banned?
I keep it banned. I'm happy.
I feel like I'm personally happy with it banned as well. I think its numbers are either 0 or 3 if you're going to have it.
I will agree it's either 0 or 3. However, I cannot tell you how good it feels playing this game knowing that I will not get max seed at any point while I'm doing a play. playing around Ash, playing around Ogre, playing around all these other cards is like, it's so much, the dynamic is so much different because it's like, okay, they Ash you, okay, it's like done. They Ogre you, it's done. When they max C you, it's never over. And then you're playing a game of chicken trying to see, okay, can I either A, set up my board, or B, kill them before they can draw another hand trap that's going to stop me and basically ruin me. And I literally just lost because I'm essentially playing against myself at that point. I really just don't like the dynamic that that card creates. And a lot of people argue, oh, well, you know, all these special summon heavy decks wouldn't really, like, there wouldn't be a big deal if Max C existed. And if Max C was at 3, you have an equal chance of drawing it compared to your opponent. Yeah, but the time your opponent draws it and you don't, you're just going to lose. And that's what's going to happen. So
I also think
so happy that card is gone.
What you just touched on, like, it also rewards, like, think of a deck like Trickstars right now that could stop at any point. Lycoris can, like, do whatever it wants. Yeah. Like, it definitely would give an advantage, I think, to decks like that.
And Masterpiece, that deck doesn't give a shit. That deck, I mean, like, obviously they're not playing hand traps anyway, but, I mean, that deck doesn't care about Max C at all. So, I mean, maybe format dependent, like, it really depends, but, I mean, I don't know. I really just don't like the dynamic that card creates because it creates a dynamic that, like, no other card in this game has. And I feel like when it was initially created, the game was at such a slower pace that it was okay because there was actually going to be several turns of gameplay that Max C was actually fine. And at most, your opponent might get like a +1, maybe a +2 if you were lucky. But now we've accelerated, and now it's at the point where it's just like unfair because if your opponent has it and you don't, you will literally lose if you take the Max C challenge.
All right. I lied. I have 2 more cards before we end.
Oh, God.
Ether and Dragoonity Dragoons. Or Atlantean Dragoons, my bad.
So I'm gonna be biased because obviously I love Monarchs. So Aether to 3, sure, why not? Dragoons to 3, I also think would be fine. Like if that card went to 3, I realistically don't think Water would still do anything. Yeah, I think it would be a boon to the deck, but I don't think it would make a splash.
Oh no. Yeah, I feel it's at 3 in the OCG if I'm not mistaken. Actually,
it is at 3 in the OCG.
And
Aether's also at 3 in the OCG, by the way.
Yeah, so these cards, like, I feel like wouldn't be format defining. I feel like it would give a huge budget options to people to be able to play Monarchs right now, which would be super nice. Like a lot of decks are ranging 200 plus now. It'd be nice to see a Monarch like deck come back for people who want to kind of, it's kind of a new style of stun, so to speak.
Yeah, because that'd be like a cool budget option for people trying to combat Pen Magician, because, I mean, then they won't be able to access anything in the extra deck with Domain up. In the OCG, the only card that's hit in Monarchs currently is Domain. I think it's at 1, but they have everything else at 3. They have Stormforth at 3, they have Pantheism at 3, they have Aether at 3, and no one's playing the deck still. So that basically just goes to show that it doesn't really... I mean, granted, they have Domain at 1, so maybe that might matter, but you can still search it, so I don't really think it matters.
Yeah, I think what chat just said, can't play around Maxi by BFrag. I think that there are times you could. People would say I'm playing around Maxi, but you definitely, like Simo said, format dependent. There's definitely times where there's a format where consistently you just cannot play around or through Maxi.
Right. Yeah, there's opportunities to play around Max C, but there's instances where if you get hit by Max C, you're just like literally like dead in the water.
Yeah,
because it's a no-win situation. You either have to take the challenge and hope they don't draw another disruptor card, which they're playing a million hand traps already, so the probability-wise, it's very high likelihood that they're going to, or you stop your play and you're just dead. So it's like either way, it's a lose-lose situation for the player who's under Max C, unless they have their own Max C to counteract on the following turn, assuming that player isn't playing something like Draco, which is completely immune to the card in the first place.
Yeah, if we go back to Zoo format, you at least get something on the board, but it's like it's not a question of do I stop, it's how bad will this hurt me.
Right, exactly. Like Zoo format, like Max C was interesting because, okay, they Max C you, and typically it was on something like Barrage because they'd want to get the guaranteed return on Max C, and then they would make a Trident, and then they draw a card. But Trident's going to take out one of their cards, so it kind of mitigates Max C, but it was really just kind of this weird dynamic because you actually had a card that was so generic like Trident that Max C was actually kind of okay, and Zodiac matches, aside from Kaiju Zodiac, there really wasn't a lot of OTKing going on. It was actually a lot of back and forth during that format, especially towards the latter end after Fusion Sub got banned. So I actually, it actually wasn't as bad in that format, but the format needs to be where there's a lot of back and forth for Max C to be healthy, in my opinion. But Yu-Gi-Oh's at a point where it's like really not anymore. I think Zodiac was honestly an anomaly. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, we've gone all over the place in the format.
All right, Simo, well, thanks for joining so much. Be sure to check out his channel. I'll link it down below, guys. And any final words here?
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you so much for being here, man.